skies and wind blows and then crashes. Waves over the
All right, everyone. So, welcome to episode 3 of the Dab Digest. Today, we are joined by CEO and founder of PufCreativ, John Shute, and we are really excited to dive into the world of marketing within the cannabis industry and alternative medicine industry overall. So excited to have him today, and thanks for joining us, John.
I'm honored to be here, Brian. You're one of
Yeah,
my
man.
favorite people in the world, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and I'm really excited to dive into this and talk about PufCreativ and the team that you guys have built, and really the strides that you continue to make within the industry. So, one of the questions that I wanted to lead off with is just give us a little bit of the background and the behind the scenes of how PufCreativ started.
Yeah, we just celebrated 8 years last week, which is just insane. You have to be very relentless and emotionally intelligent and, you know, just a little bit crazy to get through 8 years in the cannabis space. So, really proud of that. And anyone else who's just, in this industry, like, good job because it's wild. But yeah, like our background and mine, I got a master's degree, online project management. Wasn't always a fan of school, but that degree kind of really hit home with me. I immediately got submerged into like a interesting marketing and operations situation at a family's business, which was like a nightclub right after my master's degree because one of their general managers was stealing money from them. So I naturally went down to see what was going on and ended up taking over the marketing operations role. Not really a nightclub guy, definitely like music, but that's kind of where the creative marketing juices were born. I just it was cool, like the one degree that sunk in, like an online project management degree that people actually like judge me for. I was able to apply in like real world and be creative, and that was so cool. But what really got me into cannabis, and I've always been a user, and that kind of framed my life too, was like judged for getting caught with it at a young age. And so, um, anyway, it was really opiates that kind of brought me into it. I lost a lot of family and friends to them. And that was like, it just the straw that broke the camel's back of like, I want to feel purposeful with like my job. And so, I kind of left the nightlife thing and immediately applied to the cannabis industry. I had some friends that got off of opiates with cannabis and just there's research about it even then. I think it's like 2014, 2013. And yeah, immediately applied to the cannabis industry. I think there was a certain individual in my life that kind of like really set me off. And so there was one single cannabis job on Indeed.com. It was a marketing director role for a cannabis and hemp manufacturer, both, which was really, really interesting. And they had like in-house brands that they carried. So I was kind of doing this like B2B marketing for the manufacturing side for cannabis and hemp, and then like also helping marketing and sales and different things for the brands too. So I just learned a lot. I learned like everything that happened from like seed to sale in both industries, how I diversified, how the relationship with like the distribution and bud tenders. And this was in California too. So California was kind of like, has always been just a beast of a market to understand and just dissect. So yeah, that's where I kind of learned what happens from seed to sale. That's where I learned like the value of marketing and this huge gap in the industry. And just like anyone else that probably worked in the industry around then, I just got completely screwed over by these people. Kind of unfortunate. It was just the leaders just had conflict. Which is actually funny to think about. But I just, I think it was a month before my wedding, the full-time job offer I was expecting turned into, sorry, you know. And so realizing my value at the time, I was like, man, I should just do my own thing. And so that's really how PufCreativ sparked, bringing a few different pieces of the puzzle and skill sets I didn't offer into this company that just was kind of like, I have no choice, really. Like, about to get married. I'm 24 or 5, I forget. And like, just like, yeah, I should figure something out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, got lucky with our first few clients. Like, I got looped into an email I wasn't supposed to be looped into. And like, that's how I met our first client, Dr. Rob Farms. It was like just random chance. And then one of the guys who, and that was actually one of the owners of the manufacturer, looped me in by accident. One who had conflict, and then the other owner actually introduced us to our second client. So
Mm.
like, it came full circle. And one of
Hmm.
them actually now we just partnered with 8 years later after all of this time, which is really crazy. But yeah, that's how it really got started. And like, in the beginning, it was really heavy for us, like social media, photo, video,
Hmm.
like, it was really content and social heavy. And I think that's just kind of a reflection of, like, the nightclub
Hmm.
experience, because like, I just really, it was a nightclub that was around forever. And like, I really brought people back in because I just got so insane with the content. Like, people were
Hmm.
just like, I had like 48,000 or 60, I forget what it was. It was some crazy number of active Snapchat viewers at the
Wow.
time. And it was just nuts. Like, a Saturday night, I'd have like 50,000 people watching what I was putting on this Snapchat story. And then I was turning that content and recycling it around the other channels. And then that's really what I like hit it. I hit a sweet spot with
Hmm.
resonating with an audience that where I just moved to Florida. It was South Florida. I like, not a South Florida guy, but like, I
No,
just
you're
like
not.
hit this sweet spot with the content that I was just capturing, that other clubs just weren't taking it to that level. So
Hmm.
it was cool. It was like behind the scenes. And so anyway, that's how it really kind of all got started. And the nightclub to PufCreativ was actually like a pretty short period of time. It was like a 2 year period from like when I was doing the nightclub thing to when PufCreativ, maybe 2.5 years, or no, it was actually even less than that. It actually was like, I stopped doing the nightlife thing, and then PufCreativ was within a year that all
Yeah.
happened.
That's
So
awesome. I mean,
wild.
it is wild, and one, congratulations on 8 years. 8 years and
Thanks.
anything is commitment. I think that one thing that you bring to the table for sure is passion, and passion in what you do, whether it's helping others or connecting others. It's so amazing. And so it's really one of the things people probably don't know is that Puff Creative has been there since the beginning of Wax Snacks. So this is something to where
Yes.
we've got to see the evolution together. And so it's something to where I could actually see, because this was prior to me joining the team when we first were making a lot of different content and Instagram and YouTube videos. And they're still incredible. Like, your content has just evolved and gotten even better because you started bringing in other things. And so I could even see within the content that we have, a lot of it has like that nightlife feeling. And it's not like being in a club, it's just more of like the aesthetic. It makes it feel like, hey, this is something that draws people in. And so that's really
Yeah.
cool. And it's a unique thing to where at first, I mean, the most important thing for most companies is the social media aspect. Obviously, website and SEO and things are very important to lead off, but for them then to go get those consumers and that audience, they have to utilize social media. And we have such a big block when it comes to alternative medicine. So it's like thinking
Yeah.
outside the box and going creatively around it is how you're able to continue to grow and build the brand. And so one of the next questions I wanted to ask you about was like, how important is SEO for cannabis and alternative medicine? And like, what are some strategies that some of these companies that are starting up or consistently going looking for new ways to build clients?
That's a great question. I feel like it kind of goes with what I was like with our story too, because like we started, like I said, photo, video, social, right?
Hmm.
And social is a really good SEO tool. Like, a lot of consumers, which we do a little bit of everything, but a lot of it's consumer, getting in the minds of consumers and what are they used to doing normally in their shopping experience. And
Hmm.
yeah, like, I mean, most people go to Instagram, right? And then there's a ton of people on TikTok. There's a ton of people on Facebook. Those are all search engines at the end of the day too. SEO, I think, is like one of the most important facets for any type of cannabis, hemp, psychedelics, whatever, however you look at it, any business, right? Um, in cannabis, depending on, I think, the vertical that you're in, whether it's a retail, if it's a brand, if it's a hemp brand, if it's an ancillary company like you, that's where you have to really, I think about why you're using SEO, how important is it to you, and what's the end goal, right? So that's kind of like how we evolved, is realizing, okay, we're talking to other like companies we're working with, and we're seeing how social media only takes you so far, right? So
Hmm.
we're like, man, like some of our clients, they're having issues with other things that they're marketing. Like, why aren't they seeing success? And then you look into it, and you're like, wow, they're actually not doing all of these things, or someone's doing it and it's not good. What? Oh, like here's our photo and video on the website, but like, man, that website's trash. Right? Like this isn't going to convert. Like if they're paying for ads, and then they're paying for ads, like what type of advertising you're doing? Oh wow, they're not even that those ads aren't even converting. They're not even thinking about what their real options are. So that's where like we evolved, is actually like when we discovered like how valuable SEO was to like a cannabis retailer, or if you're an ancillary brand, like Wax Snacks, or a can, or like a THCA brand, like a hemp brand, and you can do e-commerce online. Yeah, man, those things are real important. And it depends on what your goals are too. Like who are you targeting, and where's the conversion take place? Is it online? Is it a contact form? And that's how like we learned how you can niche and diversify how you approach SEO, and how you approach the whole marketing platform from a holistic perspective, like a full spectrum. Like how does it all tie together? And that's over the years where I feel like as a group and as an agency, we've just like really improved, is just like understanding all the pieces of the puzzle and how important they are. Really long-winded version of me saying that SEO is just a huge player in that in that puzzle, no matter how you look at it.
Hmm.
For us in particular, most of our SEO clients are either cannabis retailers, or brand, like a hemp or ancillary brand that actually has an e-commerce transaction with which both a retailer. Other verticals, if you're an actual just cannabis brand, it's harder to. I think it's important to do SEO because it's a time thing. Like the sooner you do it, the better, no matter how you kind of
Hmm.
look at it, right?
Hmm.
And so cannabis brands don't really have a transaction that takes place on their site. So I think that there's other ways to make money and track it as a cannabis brand. You have to get creative with like your partnerships. You got to get creative with like how you're tracking sales from like a B2B perspective. So I think it's good for cannabis brands to get ahead, but from a short-term perspective, a little bit as not as important as it is someone who has an e-commerce transaction that can take place on their website.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just so many different ways to look at it, but SEO helps ads convert better. It helps for the longevity of your brand. It leads to a lot of direct sales for our customers. I mean, on the retail side, it's like, 45 to sometimes like even 80, 85% of their traffic's organic SEO.
Yeah.
And so you can just take it so deep, and just the value of the experience in the industry and understanding what moves the needle, and consumer demographics, and what POS data analyze just really accelerates the growth
Hmm.
on the like our performance for a client, if they were to use someone who doesn't have that experience and understands like what actually moves the needle, and like where to prioritize time. Like
Yep.
somewhat, you only have so much budget for everything, right?
Hmm.
So all right, some of that budget's going to SEO, and it's $5,000. Great, how are we going to maximize that $5,000 every
Hmm.
single month? And so yeah, for each client that we have SEO wise, and that's like a huge service offering of ours. Like, we take that department like really serious. Like it's
Yeah.
just crazy. So we create basically the best way to approach it, I would say, is depending on no matter what your vertical is understanding how you're going to track everything, what your goals are, but creating a roadmap that you're going to achieve.
Hmm.
And you need to analyze like, okay, what are we going to prioritize month to month that's going to move the needle? A lot of times it's like a lot of foundational SEO work, and then turns into a lot of content and like niche
Hmm.
strategy and backlinking and things along that nature.
Hmm.
But everyone's situation is different. So,
Yep.
creating a custom roadmap to your situation, what your competitors are doing, in your vertical that you're in is the best way. Like we analyze a lot of projects where there's just clearly no roadmap or like
Yeah.
not strategy in place. And, that's where people fail.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting you say that because you and I both know people in the industry and know brands that have been like this and and it's kind of unique like Wax Snacks where it's an innovative product and some people were able to generate sales and be able to do the things that were easy on social media and be able to kind of turn those leads.
Sorry, I'm moving.
Oh,
I
you're
hear my
good.
daughter yelling.
Yeah,
One
you're
second.
good. You're good.
We can keep talking too.
Yeah, but it's turning the leads into like conversions and then they sell out really fast. And then after they sell out because they had a huge Instagram or TikTok that blew up, then they don't realize that they're going to continuously have customers and they don't have the website ready. Then that starts to drown out after the social media buzz kind of, you know, fizzles away. So like SEO is a
100%.
true huge thing. So you
It's
get
it's it, you have no choice, I feel like, in this day and age. But
yeah.
hold on one sec. I'm
Yeah,
getting yelled at. One second.
you're
Sorry.
good. And we're
Sorry
back.
about that.
That's
We're
okay.
back.
I mean, that just kind of is the story, and it shares a little bit behind the scenes of what it's like to run a business, work from home, have a family, and like have to take care of things. So it's a way of delegating, and that kind of leads into my next question of like, how does having a strong and reliable team really help your growth and really like help you continue to grow and find the right trends to make sure that your clients and the people that you're working with are growing as fast as you are.
Yeah, I mean, dude, would be nothing without my team. It's the
Hmm.
most important thing to me. Um, it's why I do it. Now, I got into it for one
Hmm.
reason, and now uh, I think it's the real passion for me is watching my team do it, right? Like we execute a lot of tasks as an agency, and there's a lot of business and there's a lot of expectations that need to be set and all these things that go into it, man. But for us as a team, the conversations that we're having behind the scenes are so much more than that.
Hmm.
It's, how do we change the lives of the people who not only we're working with, it's the lives of the people who they're impacting as well.
Hmm.
It's this trickle down effect and approach to life that everyone should, I feel like, follow. And I'm not saying that I do it the best or my team does it the best or not, but I feel like we all are in this kind of agreement and we don't talk about it, but this is how we approach it, where even the conversations, approaching them the right way with a client, can change their life. And the reflection of marketing and cannabis and how that all intersects is really what I feel like drives everyone on my team to do what they do every day. And
Hmm.
there's always this kind of bigger picture for us. And if you don't have the right team in place, like, you're not going to, in my position, be able to function. Like,
Hmm.
I just trust them, right? We find ourselves in, we have so many good things going on and this amazing portfolio and all these awards. But man, like, there's the ugly side to it, right? Every agency has it. Like, you're dealing with, you can't please everyone. Not
Hmm.
everyone's going to love your creative. Not everyone is going to be happy with the performance. Everyone that you work with is in a completely different competitive situation. You can't control their pricing. How many things are you doing for their marketing?
Hmm.
Does their marketing director know what they're doing? So, at least at the end of the day, I love my team. They seem to enjoy working for us and like are very grateful that like we have such an open communication and platform to like leverage each other and just feel good about work.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like, I just trust them in every situation, and like we can talk through anything. And if it wasn't like that, like, I don't think we would be here, because
Yeah.
it's not like we have like, you know, it's not like we're backed by a huge company or like,
Mhm.
anything like that. There's a lot of risk in every decision we make here
Yeah.
and situation that we're in. Little things could impact us, our future. So I feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself, and like I couldn't do it without the team that I have in place,
Yeah.
especially like the one I have like right now is just feels like a gift, dude. Like
Yep.
even the interns we just hired. I'm like, how did we find you?
I've
Like
heard. I've heard.
you're great. What? Like
And
you are
so I'm
so
like,
cool.
I'm trying to find interns because I'm like, oh wait, like I want to find interns that are like that. I like that's the thing. I think
Dude,
it's a reflection of one, you and how you kind of approach life and you check on people, you make sure you kind of connect
I
with
try my
them.
best, man.
Yeah,
I
and I
try my
think
best.
that's
You know,
a
you can't make everyone happy, but you
and
know,
honestly, that's not the point of our life. Our life is to do the things that fuel us, and I think that that is really a reflection on your team. They all have incredible gifts that they can utilize. They're very talented in their work, but they also have outside of work lives. And I think that
yeah,
team bonding nowadays is a lot harder, especially for a marketing agency, because most people are spread out across the country like your team
yeah,
is. And so like
we're all
I think
remote.
it's really important to have team bonding and like that's why really every year I love working with you guys when it comes to MJ BizCon because then I get to see your team come out and I get to see them like get to bond with each other and kind of take the interweb out of it and take that the matrix out of it and actually really
Yeah,
feel the presence and the consciousness and like the 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 beautifulness of being unique. Your team is unique in so many different facets, and I think that's what's really cool is that it then reflects on the work that comes out to where they actually feel very passionate about what they're
totally.
doing instead of it just being like, all right, today I'm waking up and I got to make a post for so and so, or I gotta go check the SEO and make sure that this is updated for their blogs or whatever it is. Like it does become tedious, but when you have people that check on you and you make it really
Yeah,
like a family, it really does help because then it reflects on the customers that you're working on and being able to check with them. Like I really appreciate when people from your team, like James, reaches out and says like, "Hey man, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a while." Like I love that. Like that's
yeah.
something that's unique and it's like that doesn't happen everywhere. So kudos for surrounding yourself with the right people and continue to do so however you are doing it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's insane. Honestly, like
Yeah.
I said, like you know, I couldn't do it without my team. One shout out, we just started like we actually have like an HR person now, which is just like I never thought I would have that. And like
Yeah.
it's just so crazy. It's Kim Broom
Growth.
from yeah, from Zenden.
Awesome.
Just
That's awesome. It's growth.
yeah,
It's a reflection of how you guys have worked hard for 8+ years and continued to adapt with the industry where we see a lot of people just kind of they fizzle out in ways and it's not always a bad thing because this industry is strenuous. There's a lot of different things that
it's
can
so
take us in
nuts.
a yeah, it can take us in a different direction. And so it's really important to be able to have a team and identify things that can be done, especially when it comes to an industry that continues to evolve and change, and it's going to continue to evolve and change as wellness continues to become the light to a lot of people. So,
Yeah,
I,
I mean, our jobs are more important now than they maybe ever have been as
mhm,
as someone in the cannabis industry, just with, you know, no matter what political side you're on, like the world's a wild place, right? Like
mhm,
people are not doing too hot.
yeah,
My approach, I'm trying to give, everyone that I cross paths with grace and how they
mhm,
are reacting,
yeah,
to anything. So yeah, I think cannabis is super important, just like with the amount of like physical and like mental ailments it can help with people, just to give a little bit more clarity or just relief or whatever in the day. And so, how are we doing that to our best
mhm.
ability as someone in the industry?
And
So
and that kind of leads me into the next question of like, as a agency, explain how, and it's not always the like driving factor because there's innovation and things like that, but storytelling and being able to share, especially from a medicine aspect, explain how important that is for alternative medicine brands and cannabis brands, like being able to tell the story so that people can understand a little bit more behind the product.
yeah, so that's like, that's probably the best question you could ask,
Hmm.
straight up. Like it's something that's so frustrating to me as like a cannabis marketer and brander and storyteller. Like, I don't execute as much work as I used to just because I'm in, the kind of business development and sales and like networking seat as a CEO. I oversee a lot. I'm involved in a lot of strategy still, but even that's, slowing down for me. But when you talk to people on the front end, whether it's a customer or partner, and talk, their perspective and industry as a whole, like the story and the passion is what I hate that gets lost.
Mhm.
And that, like, people forget that like cannabis, its true form in the history of cannabis, like it was the farmer or the medicine healer or the hippie in the mountains in California that grew the best
Mhm.
cannabis, and that's what is most important to the consumer. And so I feel that people forget that, like, it's all about
Mhm.
the consumer, it's all about the quality, it's about changing people's lives and making the world better. And when you're branding someone, I love pulling that passion and that story and the intention out of the company or person that we're doing the branding for. Because in cannabis, most consumers experience an MSO cannabis experience to start, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Not every market, but what we see now is like a big corporate company is the one that breaks down the doors. You know, that's fine. If that's
Mhm.
what it takes. But at the end of the day, even for them, they should have intention
Mhm.
and passion and a purpose behind what the problem that they're trying to solve for consumers. And so for me, when we're able to pull like a real, true, genuine story out of a brand or a company or anything like that, it resonates with us. It allows us to create a brand and a story and messaging and creative that resonates with the consumer, and that makes everything way more effective. So if you're
Mhm.
thinking about rebranding or branding yourself, like, it is just, I think it's the most important thing. It's the first thing that people see. It makes them
Mhm.
keep coming back for more. It hits them right here. And those sound like all just keywords, but from what I see, analyzing data at a very high level and performance, use the better perform the better looking brand that's implementing real marketing strategy, that's going to convert better than a brand that doesn't look as sharp or as good or
Mhm.
resonates as well from a marketing. Like if you put two brands, right, one that has a great story, intention, passion, purpose, and quality next to a brand that is the same price point, and they don't have those things, you execute the same marketing strategy, the one with the story and the real true brand is going to win. And
Yep.
we rebrand brands we have an opportunity to look at that in real time. Like, we do rebrands for companies that have had brands in it's a fully integrated company. Say they have 5 locations and they have 2 in-house brands, right? They come to us, they're like, hey, we never really went through a formal branding exercise. Okay. So we start doing their SEO on the retail side, start collecting data from ads. And then we
Mhm.
do the rebrands of their in-house brands. You'll see the change in the online sales of those brands on the website. Like, those brands will sell more after.
Mhm.
There's a better conversion rate. If you do it right, it works. And
Mhm.
it's, a lot of people will use that as a sales tactic or just keywords in situations like this, but I've seen it happen. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like I almost got to this point to like prove all of these sayings to myself. Like,
Mhm.
branding works, like do
Yeah.
SEO. Like, I like that. That's almost like my motivation, is like
Yeah.
making these old wise tales like reality in the cannabis
Yeah.
space, because it's a
Mhm.
challenge. Like, there's all these things to consider with law and what
Mhm.
state you're in, and there's a lot of conversations that are on top of just a normal branding
Yeah.
conversation in the fastest and slowest moving industry of all time. And who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
And I think like what you're sharing is also something that can be used as tips for people that might not be able to right now have the capital to hire an agency or hire a marketing person. Like
yeah,
these are tips because like what you said right there. So for me, I mean, I'm a sun-grown supporter, always will be, very organic when it comes to what I put in my body and those kind of things. And sometimes the stories and the organic and the quality gets out trumped by the story that actually has more of the marketing aspect of it, whether it's the branding or the SEO. And so what that is telling
Yeah,
us is that there are ways we have to do them organically right now if we're someone that can't afford to go pay a third party or have somebody help us do this. So it's like, what are little steps that you can do? And you said it earlier, set out goals for
totally.
yourself. Like make it a monthly
Yeah,
thing to where it's like, you know what? I'm a farmer up in Humboldt and I'm having a really hard time getting traction in LA. I'm gonna make it a thing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm gonna post something. I'm gonna either post a story, a reel, or something that has to do with farming, has to do with like organic sun-grown cannabis or however you're growing it. Kind of like start building it yourself. And I know it takes a lot because like farmers, like especially sun-grown, they're out there every single day and that's their
oh my
passion.
God,
So technology isn't
yeah.
always the easiest thing, but it's like if you
I
can figure it out, it'll be a huge step to being the organic thing that we want because we go to the grocery store and the organic products are the most expensive because they're grown with love, they're growing the right way, the way it was intended. And right now, it's kind of the opposite because a lot of it has to do with how it's being portrayed, how it's being marketed. And so it's like it is something that can flip the script, especially with the right marketing and the right strategies. And that's why it's so important to do these things.
Yeah, and you raised some really good thoughts there. Like it's hard to even know where to start, but
Hmm.
it's there's two things, there's two sides to it, right? Like
Hmm.
crossing the paths with someone like my agency, and there's others out there I really respect in the cannabis space where they had the ability to really capture the attention of people through the creative and then really execute on the back end.
Hmm.
The sooner you can actually do all of that, the better, because a lot of people will make decisions based off budgets. They didn't budget properly because they don't have experience in like building a brand or a company at
Hmm.
whatever vertical they signed up for. And they end up wasting time taking the cheaper route and spending more money and time on it years later because they didn't actually go through a formal process. So
Hmm.
if you have the means to figure something out to work with someone at our level or there's some other agencies in the industry that I believe I would recommend alongside of us,
Hmm.
like friends with all my
Yep.
competitors. I think sure have
Yeah.
some haters, but if you can do that, like do it and for the long
Yep.
term. If you can't, to your point, and you need to be organic and grassroots, make it as real as possible and set KPIs for yourself to trigger spend, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of situations I'm in, being on the forefront, is catering to people's situations. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I got 20 grand and I need to do X, Y,
Yep.
and Z, right? What do you think is the best things I could do right now? Where should I spend my money if it were you? And
Hmm.
that's a situation I'm in a lot with
Yep.
people. And I am really good at trying to be reasonable and like be honest with them and give them like my true opinion. And sometimes we're in situations as an agency where our true opinion leads to not working with people because we're
Hmm.
just being brutally honest. And it's a lot of times it's like our duty to do that, even if
Yep.
they can't work with us because of money or they don't like that, they don't want to think that we're right or so. Yeah,
I
everyone's in a
th
different situation.
yeah.
It's insane. Like no matter how you think of it, any company, what's
Hmm.
the smartest route and what's logical based off a lot of times it's budget, right? Or
Yeah.
time, money and
Well,
time.
I think that it's a huge respect thing, and for me to hear what you just said, and I know this is true because I know you and work with you guys and have met a lot of the competitors that you talk about and see how highly they speak of you. Not everything is a fit for every company. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
different things that
Oh,
resonate with us. That one thing has to do with it is money sometimes too. And it's like, okay, this is maybe we're out of your budget and that's not a bad thing. It's just more of like for what you have and what you need to get done, we can recommend this to someone else. And so what that
yeah.
does is that builds trust within the community and then it's a unity and we're starting to unify a little bit and start to understand like okay we need these people to make it so that we can have medicine in this area or wherever it is but then what it does is it creates full circle to where then you're trusted to come back to as well and say like hey maybe we need this and so it's not
Yeah,
what you're
totally.
trying to do you're not trying to like you're going to take the clients that you guys feel is right and that you're doing the best for them. And so like it's really good to know that, and they're being honest with them too, because I deal with this sometimes. And like as a CEO of Wax Snacks, it's like people reach out to us. I say no probably 95% of the time just because I'm a very slow burn, if that makes sense. Like I gotta know you. I'm very frugal with how we spend funds. Like you know how I am. And so it's like, but being able to trust somebody and them tell me no instead of them just being like, you really should do this, or like just completely never talking to you again because you say
Yeah.
no. It's like that's not
And
how we grow together.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of like the advice that I give or the feedback I give is based on my experience. And you know, there's probably more times than actually not. No, like people don't listen, and then like they continue to do it wrong, or they hire someone else that maybe can do it better, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But I try my best. I try my best to navigate situations like that, no matter it's external or internal, the best I can,
Hmm.
and as honest as I can. I think that the least you can kind of do as a human is just try your best in those types of situations, and like, you know, leave a good footprint if people need to move on.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, man, this past year, actually, I would say more clients have come back to us more than any other year in the history of the company, which is really cool. Because there was one situation in particular where I was like pretty tight with the guy, like one of the gentlemen on like the client side,
Hmm.
and I was just like, yeah, man, like we're honestly killing it too hard for you guys not to come back. Like go ahead, do what you need to do, but like I don't see
Hmm.
someone else performing better at this. And I think it was, yeah, 6 months later, they came back and even added two more services to the scope. And
Hmm.
so that moment might have been one of the coolest moments. And they brought two more companies too.
Yeah.
It was like they brought the project back, more scope, and then two other projects into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, yeah, I was just like, man, that was really cool to see play out,
Yeah.
because a lot of times you tell someone that they're making the wrong choice in those situations, and ego plays a big part of it. We're like, yeah, they're probably not going to come back just because
Hmm.
like of the principle of like, they made the decision to leave. you know Maybe it was a better decision, but a lot of times I feel like looking at the aftermath, like I still see the marketing and performance. I'm like, we probably could have did better, but
Yeah.
you know
Well, and I think
might be
that it
just me.
just,
I just
yeah.
I might just like my team too much, but
Well, that's good. That's what I mean. You should want to elevate that and be able to talk highly and say like, "Hey, ours is the highest quality that you can get, and this is what you're going to get out of it." And so sometimes it is alignment, and it's like the things
yeah,
may not align in the right way, and maybe it could have been ego at first, and then after the ego subsided a little bit, it came back to reality, and it's like, all right, how do we continue to build into the future? And so. That's really
yeah,
good, and I mean that's exciting because then it's like, hey, like it is a full circle of like maybe we were on the right track. Maybe they just needed to get on to the train, if that makes
yeah.
sense. So,
Yeah, in other situations where I feel like, sometimes people just don't have enough budget, and like we're not doing enough,
hmm.
to like really, and just the reality of their situation. And like maybe they really should have just put more budget into like their, like if say it's a cannabis brand or like a hemp brand, right? Like a lot of time they need to hit the KPI of getting into a certain amount of stores to really
Hmm.
spend money on marketing for it to work.
Yeah, I
And that's a
agree.
situation I'm in a lot, where I'm like, here's the few things we could do now to help that effort to get into more stores. But
Hmm.
like growth wise and like aggressive spend, like I don't think we're there.
Yeah,
And that feels good saying that to people. Like, yeah, like we should, when you're in 1,000 stores, like we'll talk again about this. But I don't think
yeah.
we shouldn't talk until then.
Well, you're
Like,
helping them. You're helping them at the end of
yeah,
the day.
it's
You're
the
not
long term,
taking
man.
you're not taking their money because like you just said, there's certain point I mean, there are things that have to click together to make sure they work. You just can't have one and then it all come together. It usually is a few different things that then piece it together and then it starts to flow in harmony. And so sometimes it isn't the right decision just to focus on content because maybe the content is a little bit like it's really good, but you don't have the money to put it back into your website. And so it's like, what are you going to do when the traffic comes to your website? Okay, are you going to be able to capitalize on it? Are you going to be able to continue to capitalize on it? Are you going to be able to send campaigns and build this business and continue to keep these consumers like coming back to you? And so it really does play like it is good that you're able to say like and now look back on it too, because I'm sure at the moment you're probably like, dang, we really could have used that money too.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a constant balancing act of like, what's the best decision for this situation? Because like, yeah, like we want to grow, like we want to get revenue and money through the door, and we're always owed a lot of money. That seems like everyone in the cannabis space is. So it's
Hmm.
like, we got to keep things moving.
Yep.
And yeah, it's so weird to be like, yeah, don't pay us yet. Like, let's
Yep.
make this more long term for you
Yep.
guys. And
Yep.
yeah, a lot of people have respect for that, man. Like I love
Hmm.
I love that feeling when people are like, yeah, thanks for being honest,
Yep.
because sometimes I think when we first started, like I think we only did so much. I only knew so much, so I didn't realize that as much as I do now. Like
Yeah.
just seeing the trends of the industries unfold,
Exactly.
it's insane, dude. Like it goes
Yeah.
so deep.
Yeah.
People don't
It
realize.
does. It does, and learning from the past is huge, and the future is something to where we get to utilize those things that we've learned from in the past. So it helps us in that present moment too. So that kind of leads me into
Yeah.
the last question before we wrap you up and get you out of here. So, what are some of the next steps for Puff Creative? Any big projects on the plans for this year? Any going anywhere? I think I saw you were going to Germany. Like, what's next for Puff
Yeah.
Creative?
Um, there's a lot that is on my mind, right?
Hmm.
And I think what happens in the short term and long term is very dependent on actually this year in particular.
Hmm.
This is, year eight. I think this is like a big make or break a year for any type of business. So, we find ourselves in some situations that need to unfold internally, externally, that are going to kind of foresee our timelines on business development, but yeah, like I think there's just a lot of opportunity in our country right now, just with how many states are just not legal.
Hmm.
It's a little bit uncertain with that momentum, just based on our current administration and the direction that they're heading already within the first few
Hmm.
months. So, that's a little bit concerning. I would say I'm a bit concerned about the states and the timing of everything and how things unfold. I do
Hmm.
feel like there's so much money in cannabis and hemp and psychedelics where it's not going anywhere,
Hmm.
but what does that look like and what's fair is another question that
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about. So yeah, like still eyes on the United States and the growth of the states here, and just taking our experience in new markets, or for people who are really trying to grow fast and do it right. That's
Hmm.
like where I'm like, we can do that. Like if you're fully integrated, like let's go.
Yeah.
And the other side, and like helping good people who are trying to grow the
Hmm.
right way. Like
Yep.
it needs to all come together from any aspect you look at it, see it to sale.
Hmm.
um but yeah, I'm looking at the world too, like
Hmm.
we're working with a lot of cannabis, a lot of hemp, psychedelics, keep saying that, but there's beverages, there's some non-cannabis projects that we're working on that are really cool. um and yeah, I'm going to Berlin. I guess our first international conference that we've attended. So I'm going solo, and got a bunch of cool people that I'm already kind of lined up to meet. We're sponsoring like a C-suite connector there, which is really cool. The Global Cannabis Network, Chris Day and Jill Reddish. So I'm real excited about that. And yeah, I'm like most intrigued to learn about how the legal side of each country impacts the business side, and like where does branding and marketing fit into that to be most
Hmm.
effective. That's like my goal,
Hmm.
is network with all the great people who are already doing a great job at learning where we fit into the puzzle the right way, because we're
Yeah.
doing it very well here, and we're only looking to improve how we're doing it, and every detail of that. So yeah, I'm ready to apply that, just and have a global impact and try to really, yeah, we just want to work with people trying to help the world, and I
Yep.
see that through cannabis and through other industries.
Well,
So
one thing that is really huge for you being in this for 8 years, especially in the US, you've gotten to see the innovation and the growth. And a lot of the times, people, because of the way that the society had led us to believe that the Netherlands and Amsterdam is always going to be ahead and they're always going to be the first ones to do these things and make it like recreational. That's far from true. We work with plenty of people overseas, and the United States actually has, like in the states that are legal and recreational, we really do have a blessing here, being able to order rosin or extracts online or be able to
yeah,
do these things. So like going over
yeah,
there,
or
you'll
like
be able to.
RSO
Mhm.
oil for like a med patient, and like you get
Yeah,
that delivered to your house in some places. Like it's
but
kind of
not,
cool.
and most of Europe you can't because of
Yeah,
extraction laws. It depends on where you are. So that'll be really good for you to go over there and immerse yourself and being able to
yeah,
like share what you know too, because just because they're not at this level that we are when it comes to the innovation of the plant doesn't mean that they're gonna not be far behind. They just don't make decisions that are very like they don't just make quick decisions. It usually takes a lot of different things.
yeah, exactly. So,
So,
yeah, I'm just stoked on it, man. To be honest,
yeah.
like I just want to just have things to look forward to,
Yeah.
and keep things moving.
Well, that's exciting. I'm really excited to continue to see how Puff grows, how you grow in the future, and I'm really grateful that you're able to join us today. And one
Thanks
of
for
the
having
things
me.
yeah, of course. And one of the things I wanted to do was let you plug or link anything like where people can find you out on social for Puff Creative and how they can connect with you if your services or something that might be for their product or their brand.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, just John Shute, Shute. Got an Instagram, John Shute underscore, and then Puff Creative. It's spelled kind of weird. It's PUFCREATIV. So that's our handle on Instagram. That's our website, puffcreative.com. Those are great spots. We have LinkedIn as well. So hit us up. Even if it's just a chat. So.
Hell yeah. Well, I love it. I appreciate you joining us for this third episode and excited to see all the things to come.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. Talk to you soon.